Last week, Brannen and myself did an 18.1 initial thoughts video. This week, Noah got invited to Pittsburgh to do the 18.2 live announcement, and I decided last night to go up there and surprise him and support him in person. So I won't be here tonight to do the initial thoughts video. Kyle, Ruth, and Brannen Dorman, who are two of my longest standing coaches who I trust, are going to do the initial thoughts video for you guys tonight. I'm getting on a 6 a.m. flight back tomorrow to watch the on-site people with Travis, Will, our team, and the rest of the group go. And I will have another video coming out tomorrow night with more of my thoughts after having seen a bunch of people execute it.
Before we start, so when Max filmed the intro video, and when he did that, I told him at the end, I said, hey, snap. And when you snap, I'm going to make you disappear and Brannen and Kyle appear. So real quick, I just want y'all to just do a little hop, and then I'll edit it to make it look
like a jump, or we pop up from under here.
Count to three, and then 1, 2, 3, and then just do a little hop. All right, 3, 2, 1.
We're rolling. All right, 18.2 strategy video. Obviously, Max is not here tonight. So
can we talk about how good Max looked on the video?
Yeah, out there changing weights, looking like a champ.
Oh, fantastic.
And, I definitely just wanted to say congrats to Noah. Thought it was an excellent performance.
Good job.
We're going to go through, break it down, and analyze it. So let's just kind of dig into this a little bit. Some of the points that we're going to go over: equipment setup, movement standards, some of that stuff. We're going to cover that now. For equipment setup, one of the things that Brannen and I have talked about already is how to place the dumbbells to optimize the transitions in this workout. So we came up with a nifty little piece of artwork here. So we've got two options, A and B. Put your dumbbells to the side of the barbell or put your dumbbells behind the barbell. This is what they did in the actual open announcement. We think this might have some merit. This might be a useful way to set up your equipment. You're going to have to play around with this and time it out before you guys start. I don't think we haven't had a chance to go out there and really play with this yet.
Yeah. Instead of telling you what the best one is, I think it's playing around with it tomorrow or tonight if you're going to do it. Get a feel for which one feels best to you. If you're comfortable stepping over and then back behind the bar for the dumbbells being here, that seemed to be pretty fast for Noah and Patrick Vellner. But if it's easier for you to get around the bar, obviously time all that out. We're going to have all of our athletes on site do that tomorrow.
Just like last week, this is going to be a really fast-paced workout, so transitions are going to matter quite a bit. So I would make sure that you figure out what works best for you before you start this workout. Spend 5 minutes figuring out your barbell and dumbbell setup. The second thing is, and Brandy McGoldrick suggested this, and I think this was an excellent suggestion, chalk where your hands are going to go on the bar-facing burpee. You want to have some sort of mark where your hands go every time, so you stay close to the barbell to keep your cycle rate really high. Some other things to really keep in mind with movement selection and the movement standards. Number one, you have to stand at full extension with the dumbbells before you do your first squat. You cannot do a squat clean into your first rep. That would be a no rep. The second thing was just make sure that on your burpee that you're jumping your feet all the way up to your hands to minimize the distance that you're traveling with each rep versus jumping your feet further back behind your hands, then stepping to the bar, then jumping over the bar. Again, for people that are trying to get really good placements on this, open or regional level placements, this is going to be a very high-paced, high-turnover workout, and you're going to have to meet that with your movements. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about pacing. Brandon's going to go into some of the pacing from the workout and dig into that.
Yeah, the nice thing tonight, you got to watch two different types of athletes go, both within the elites, but then also you talk about the scales. So we saw two scaled athletes go, and if that's you or you're someone that's not an elite or high-level performer in the sport, understand that your pacing structure is going to be much different than what we're talking about here for the higher level performers. But within Noah and Patrick, you saw two different types of athletes as far as speed of contraction goes. Noah focused on being fast on the squats, and then he was smooth on the burpees, whereas Vellner's a little bit taller and longer femurs, so his squats were a little bit slower, but he moved quicker on the burpee. So think about that when you start your warm-up. Am I a fast, we were talking about this before, Kyle's really fast off the ground in his burpees, but he doesn't have as fast of a squat as maybe I do. I'm a little bit shorter, I can move a little bit faster in my squat. So if we were competing in this, I would plan it to be fast in my squats to try to get ahead, whereas he would try to plan it to be a little bit faster in his burpees. So that's just something to think about kind of on the broad scale. Now, as you break down the workout, this is big. you're only halfway through the workout after round 7. So Noah talked about it actually a minute ago on the after show, and it was something that was kind of funny. He was like, yeah, it didn't really feel like anything until round 7. Well, that's because he got 55 reps in, and then it starts getting real to the next 55 reps. So think about it as you start your pacing strategies. If you go all out from rep 1 and you get to rep 7 and you're burning out, you're only halfway there. So what I would recommend is stay smooth on your burpees or your squats, whichever is going to be your weakness in this workout, until you get into round 8. And then that's when you got to pick up and say, hey, I got to go. I've got to push myself a little bit more. 8, 9, and 10 are the go rounds, and you got to make sure that you finish strong on this. With all that said, you got to clean afterwards. So we have to be able to kind of focus in on what do I want to hit and where am I going to be on the leaderboard, especially if you're going for a regional spot, right? Like you can't just have a 4-minute time in the first part and then only a 225-pound clean on the second. So you've got to be able to pace enough to have a little bit in the tank to do that clean.
Speaking of 225-pound clean, so we can move on a little bit to 18.2A. If you notice, both athletes opened up with a 225-pound clean. I've already gotten messages from some of my athletes that are like, I'm going to open at 275.
Yep.
That was before they watched the open announcement. After watching the open announcement, that's tempered down a little bit. One thing that Brannen and I talked about before we started was the idea that you would want to open up at a weight that you're very confident that you can hit no matter what. So your first weight should just be something to feel the weight, and then you progress your load from there based on how you feel. You're going to have a little bit more time to prep than those guys did. I mean, they announced the workout, they watched the heat go, and then they were out there hitting the workout. So you should take some time during your warm-up to actually find a weight that you're very confident in for your first opening weight. Make sure you build up to that opening weight, and I'm not sure that I would build up past that. Again, equipment setup stuff for part A of this workout. Make sure your barbell is loaded to whatever weight you've got coming up. I know that that's a no-brainer, but people tend to make mistakes and get excited and overlook simple things on game day. The other major thing here for the clean is the movement standards. Any type of clean will work except for a hang clean for part A. So for the second part of this workout, any clean. For the first part of the workout, only a clean where you stand all the way up at the end or at the top of it to full extension before your first squat will count. The other thing that we really paid attention to during the workout was the timing between finishing the workout and starting the first lift. Brandon, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Noah's first lift was at 225, which again, Kyle just touched on this, but I'll reiterate. I think it's wise for, even if you're a really strong and powerful athlete and you feel good, to get something under your belt. So feel the weight. Again, they mentioned afterwards, like, hey, my legs just felt dead. Your legs are going to feel like that too, especially if you're going fast. So get something under your belt first and then plan what your actual opening lift would be. So if that would be 275, normally maybe it is 225, 275, 295, whatever that may be for you. If you're a male, females, just adjust the weights. But Noah started his first one 2 minutes and 20 seconds after he finished the workout. So that gives you an idea of someone that can recover probably better than anybody that I've ever seen. And then his next attempt was another minute and 40 seconds after that. So, and he had a time for 4 attempts. So you have time there, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of times we rush into our first attempt. If you feel good and you can get a lighter weight under your belt right away, do that, but then take some time to kind of figure out where you want to go and navigate the situation from there. I think this is something, though, don't have hard and fast rules, because it's going to change when you finish that workout. So have weights that you want to target, but start lighter and then feel it out after each attempt.
Kind of building on that as well, you definitely don't want to get discouraged if you do miss your first attempt at one of your heavier weights. If you notice, both those guys missed an attempt at their heavier weight first, then hit it on their second attempt. When you're tired, a lot of times it takes a little bit to get your nervous system really ramped up and fired up to be able to hit that. So is there anything else you want to add for strategy-wise for 18.2 or 18.2A?
No,
I think they're pretty straightforward workouts.
They are. Go out there and push yourself as hard as you can and get a big clean number. I mean, it is straightforward.
So what we want to touch on next is a little bit of warm-up stuff. I know I'm going to send out a warm-up to my athletes. Brandon, you're going to do the same thing. I think most of the Training Think Tank coaches will send out some sort of warm-up to our athletes so that you're not showing up on game day and like, what do I do? But some just reminders. The shorter the workout, the more you need to warm up. Brannen mentioned something. You need to feel like you're getting hot before you go into the workout. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so last week was almost the opposite of this, being long and you're keeping a pretty steady pace throughout. So I always tell my athletes that you want to feel a little bit of what you're going to feel in that round of 9 and 10 in your warm-up. You've got to push yourself to that 95, 100% pace, get your heart rate up to where it's going to be in the workout, breathe the same way, get where you're sweaty and hot and you're doing all of those movements, and then cool back down and get ready for the workout. I think the problem with this is we usually go on the salt bike, we ride for 10 minutes, do a couple burpees, a couple squats, we feel good, then we go into the workout, and then on round 6, your legs are blown up.
Well, you said you feel good, and the idea is not to feel good. The idea is to feel the way you're going to feel in the workout. You don't want the first time that you're basically dying to be in the middle of the workout. You want to touch that before you start. Just touch it and then come back away from it. Some other things to really keep in mind, because there is a max load at the end of this, you're going to want to dial up trunk tension. Things like the McGill curl up, things like stability ball, stir the pots, front planks, things like that allow you to really engage the trunk. That's going to be important. Get your glutes active as well, because you're going to need to stabilize the hips and the bottom. Like Brandon said, open up your rack position. When your shoulders are tired, you don't want to be catching with a sloppy, weak front rack. You want to be in a pretty good open front rack position so that you can really stand up and kind of grab onto the bars you're coming out of the hole. Then in terms of warming up for the weight, you had mentioned warming up to your opener. Mike had mentioned warming up to like 90% of his opener because he's a little bit more confident. What do you think people should be doing in that range?
So I think this is going to be coach and athlete dependent. Mike mentioned that. Mike's a really powerful athlete. He knows how he works. He knows he's done a lot of weightlifting, so he knows exactly where he needs to warm up to. For my less powerful, more aerobic or enduring athletes that have kind of been in that field before CrossFit, I might have them build to something a little bit heavier because they can recover and feel good and go into it and have some confidence. But I think it's going to be, and this is the conversation I'm going to have with all my athletes, it's going to be athlete dependent. So if you have thoughts on that, send them to your coach and then let them respond to you on that.
So if someone's watching and they don't have a coach though, let's say their target is 275 and they're going to open at 205. Would you have them warm up above 205 or would you have them just warm up to their
So
target
typically,
weight?
since we were talking about having a number, what I will tell all of my athletes, have an opening number in mind that is not going to be your real opening number for this. So if it was 275, typically if you weren't doing this workout before, then they start at 225. I would say warm up to that actual opening number of 275, but you have 225 on the bar for the actual workout so that you have the confidence to know you're going to hit your second weight, but in reality you're starting at 225 for this.
Yeah, so your fresh opener would be 275, but your fatigued opener is 225.
Yeah.
And then the only other note I had on here was just to make sure that you, if you're a TTT athlete, make sure you go back through the warm-up manual and the competition manual. We've got a lot of notes in there and warming up 4 workouts that are strength under fatigue type workouts, so make sure you check that out. You may pick some extra stuff up in there.
Huge. I mean, Kyle actually did all of that work, and thank you for that. I had 2 different athletes that filled that out and had unbelievable scores on the first workout that they typically wouldn't be good at those, but because they went through and thoroughly looked at their warm-up, their pacing strategy, all those things help so much, especially when you're competing against 500,000 other people in the world, and all of them are thinking about strategies. So
my gut tells me this one's a little less planning involved,
for sure.
a little more kind of like get after it.
But for the next 4 weeks, though, make sure that you're taking care of yourself.
Cool. I think that's it.
Awesome.
Remember that hop at the beginning, and I said I was going to edit it?
Yeah.
I lied.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Man, I feel like I got a higher vert than you or something. I don't know.
I actually pressed on the table, too. If you lied about that, I'm going to be pissed, Chris. I'm so
He definitely
mad at you.
lied. He definitely lied.
I'll show you Max. I got Max in there doing the snap.
Chris, do your best to make us look cool, because I know we're not.